Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we'll look to Arakeen, an overview of the city, the people that live there and ruled there, and key locations over the time period from Dune to and including Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert. We start with the government mansion where both the Atreides and the Harkonnens pre-Muad'Dib worked for a time. Jessica looks on it and sees no warmth, just cold stone, with buttressed walls and dark hangings, and the ceiling was 2 stories above, and Dune tells us this had been the government mansion in the days of Old Empire. Outside were palm trees, 20, and a fence separated them from the road. There was the shimmer of a house shield as well. The trees are date palms, and 1 date palm requires 40 litres of water a day. A man requires but 8 litres. A palm then equals 5 men. There are 20 palms out there, 100 men. In Paul's room, a leaping fish carved into the wood's eye could be pressed to turn on the room's dispenser lamps. Other controls affected the ventilation and the temperature, and a bookcase would swing aside to reveal his closet. The handle was styled like an ornithopter thrust bar. Jessica, exploring, finds an oval door. There was no handle but a palm lock that would be keyed to one person's hand shape, and Jessica, using her Bene Gesserit training, applies an attempt to get into the room beyond by accessing the palm lock. The most gentle of pressures to distort the lines, a turn of the wrist, another turn, a sliding twist of the palm across the surface. The door opens, and she finds the door, when it does open, leads to an airlock, and behind that she feels the air change and finds it's a conservatory, a garden of delights. It had a political significance as well. Those in charge use a lot of water on a desert planet to keep the plants alive. The Fremen called it the Weirding Room, because it was fit only for witches. Near the assembly room, where Leto might have his meetings, there were alcoves that housed coil slot water machines, and outside the city was a landing field where ornithopters could take people out to the desert and back, perhaps to inspect spice, and over the exit of this landing field was a phrase, "O you who know what we suffer here, do not forget us in your prayers." A conference room there housed a map board and projectors for flight paths. Back in Arakeen proper, if you walked out, you could find the streets ankle deep in sand blown over the shield wall, where foot traffic churned it into choking dust. Blowers at portals would try, perhaps vainly, to clear it away. In Paul's personal space, later when he was emperor, he would drink coffee in the morning from the blue pottery they had. Though he did this with Chani, there would always be 3 cups, 1 extra for their former owners, and there were coloured glass jars nearby for the now emperor that held dry ingredients of the desert, unguents, incense, mementos, a pinch of sand from Sietch Tabr, a lock of hair from their firstborn, long dead, 12 years dead, an innocent bystander killed in the battle that had made Paul the emperor, and the room smells of spiced coffee. Checked by a poison snooper, of course, and around his home were enclosed gardens where a floral perfume filled the air, sentinel trees and a fish pond. The economies of water cellars had been hurt by the changes Paul had wrought on his beloved Dune. And nearby, Alia was in her temple, the fane of the oracle. The faith there brought many. Vendors moved among the pilgrims, and there were minor sorcerers, diviners, all working their trade in pitiful imitation of Paul Muad'Dib and his sister. The vendors sold holy amulets, and they would leave the palm-lined avenue when it closed for the day, which would stir up dust and leave a flinty odour in their wake. And at times a work gang moved down there, bringing giant plasmeld blocks to repair a facade, and elsewhere was a footbridge constructed of crystal-stabilised gold and platinum. Fire jewels from far Kedon decorated the bridge. It led to the galleries of the inner city across a pool, and fountains filled with water flowers. Paul comments how, though the building is new, the ageing of the sand, something about that makes it feel old. There are oppressive people there. The outside of the portico was lined with tall, slender glow tubes, simulating candle flame. They flickered. The crowd flowed through tall metal doors into a giant navum. It was gloomy inside, ill-lit with flickering lights. The altar was black wood covered in sand patterns from Fremen mythology. Acolytes chanted nearby. A punlik reclamation still is poorly capped and allows its odours into the air. Paul wonders how his people have changed so much. Outside he sees rectangles, blocks of colour, creeping movements of life and sound, structures gleamed, shimmered, heat patterns spiralled off the rooftop, and this leads us finally to the Palace of Arakeen. It was built during the 12-year reign of Paul Muad'Dib. The money to make it came from the spice trade. Huge workforces came to build it, and it was the biggest structure made in human history. And you see its structure and size when you walk down the long hall to see Paul Atreides on his throne. The hall is designed to humble both through its size and the long journey down to greet the Emperor. There is a small private area off from it, however, where private business can be discussed. And that, friends, is where I will end today's video and our tour of Arakeen.